I'm hoping everybody is well over there, but just hanging in there, man. Living life, hanging in there, man. Yeah, got the beard going.
Yeah, I like it. Is this too much? Too busy? Is this too busy? I think it's too busy.
Okay. Well, whatever.
Is that too busy? All right, fine. Screw it. Well, we got to find one with just the logo. I think we'll be fine. But putting our faces above our faces is a little weird. But either way, I'm trying to do something here. Oh, wait, that's the wrong thing. There we go. Yeah, go ahead.
It is a little kabuki-ish.
Right.
Just, if you want viewers, just put Dorina's face over my face. You'll win every time. Just do that.
We were very lucky, that's for sure. She was fantastic on the new show we dropped last night, the politics show, Impolite Truths, a show that's a conversation about many things and a conversation that's wide open from multiple points of view, encouraging people with multiple points of view to come in and have discussions with us, conversations with us that are respectful and are good discourse, which we're trying to put a positive energy back out into the world of politics. And we'll see. Certainly got a lot of buzz, a lot of positive reactions, and maybe somebody will pick it up. I'll have to cut it up. I'll have to do timestamps, all that extra shit that I hate doing, but it's part of the game. But today, this is Strong Style. We're talking about a bunch of pro wrestling news, a lot of shit that's going on in the world of pro wrestling. We had some Raw Underground. We had we have a punter taking on Adam Cole. And we're going to revisit, and we got the Rock buying the XFL and a couple other news items. And then we're revisiting SummerSlam 1994 to have, once again, Owen Hart versus Bret Hart. I think this is the first time we've had two matches where the same combatants are fighting each other that we're covering here on Strong Style. This is in a steel cage for the WWF Heavyweight Championship. Was a co-main event that night, not the ultimate main event, which ended up being The Undertaker versus The Undertaker, which was really lame. But yeah, I rewatched it again just because I had 10 minutes to kill and it was terrible. But anyway, we're going to get into all of that here. Please, y'all remember the Streamlabs and the Super Chats. That's what keeps the Outlaw Nation alive. That's what keeps the Outlaw Nation going. So send them in. Ask us questions, whatever you want to ask us. You see the Streamlabs address right above Aaron's head there. Just put a dash or just put a /TIP after it. John Rocha says /tip. And send in your contributions there. I'll read them. I'll be checking them throughout the show. Or send in your Super Chats through the show. We'll bring them up on screen. But like I said, we need to get those Super Chats and Streamlabs coming in for every one of these shows to keep the Outlaw Nation going. All right, Aaron, anything to add? How is, other than skipping up the hurricane, everything else all right? What's the update on the house situation?
House situation is in flux. Still waiting on that. Hopefully, we're hoping by next Saturday we'll be able to be out and looking again. So,
good.
Good. We're excited for that, and just trying to stay safe out here. It's kind of hard in Florida. We had a weird week with the hurricane and stuff that we already talked about, but just a lot going on. Just a lot around me, and I'm over here by the coast, so it's a lot more dangerous when a hurricane comes through if you're on the coast. So we were kind of puckering our butts there for a minute.
Respect. All right, we got 22 y'all watching this live, so remember, hit that like button as we go along through this show here. Aaron, what do we got first, my man?
Okay, so we got something super weird that kind of happened a couple days ago, just out of nowhere. And this is former WWF Intercontinental Champion and Tag Team Champion Marty Jannetty. You probably know him better as one half of the Rockers with the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
He casually admitted to murder the other day on a Facebook post. It's 2020, dude. I mean, what do you expect these days? It's 2020. Right. He put up this Facebook post, which has since been deleted. I'll read it, but I just want a disclaimer before this.
Mm-hmm.
Marty Jannetty's opinions are not the opinions of mine, John Rocha, the Outlaw Nation Network, or anybody with a brain. So
not at all.
I'm just going to read this real quick. He says, I never told anyone this, even my brother Gino, because Gino would have killed him, and I didn't want my brother gone. Hell, he'd only recently come home from Vietnam. I was 13, working at Victory Lane's bowling alley, buying weed from an FAG, if you will, that worked there. And he put his hands on me. He dragged me around to the back of the building. You already know what he was going to try to do.
Right.
And then he goes on to say that was the very first time I made a man disappear. They never found him. They should have looked in the Chattahoochee River. And then he goes on to talk about a lady that he's involved with, saying that she can go her own way and he doesn't need her.
Wow.
So, Marty Jannetty casually confessing to murder in 1973. Wasn't expecting that to come out of the week, but you read these comments, and I'm of two minds here, because on the one hand, he killed somebody apparently, and then
he says,
right. Or so he says, and then on the other, I mean, he said that the guy disappeared, so
right,
whatever,
right.
But also on the other hand, if he was truly being attacked and possibly assaulted by somebody, then I mean, it's a completely different scenario here. So I really don't know how to feel about it. I don't know what to believe, because Marty's had his troubles.
Yes.
So I mean, what do you think of this nonsense?
Well, for me, we're looking at an old wrestler. We're looking at a wrestler whose life has never been the same since Shawn Michaels put him through a barbershop window. As you said, we know about the troubles with him. We know about the issues with him. And the thing that's so weird about the post was a way to kind of get at a girl. It wasn't about him like admitting that he's a tough man or trying to build himself up. It was a post to talk about the fact that, I did this when I was 16, and I swore that no one was ever going to screw me over again. So if I can do that, I know I'm not going to let you screw me over again. Meanwhile, Vince and probably numerous promoters have screwed Jannetty over multiple times. So it seemed like a wasted effort in trying to show how tough you are by casually admitting that you murdered somebody, which is very, very weird. And then there's been no follow-up where it hasn't been investigated from what I understand. There isn't anybody who's come forward to say, my son was the one doing selling the drugs over by that bowling alley. I've always wondered what happened to him. Damn you, Jannetty. This could be just a guy who's kind of lost in his own mind. He's getting older. Maybe he's, CTE situation is going on, possibly creating scenarios that never, ever really existed. So I don't know how much weight you can put behind it. It's just really weird. And I'm surprised at how much an older wrestler just casually admitting this has blown up the social media of wrestling about this kind of stuff. It lets you know that the name Marty Jannetty still carries weight with multiple generations of wrestling fans, even though he never achieved the fame that Shawn Michaels did, his more famous tag team partner. So I find that very fascinating.
I think that's part of the mystique of why Marty Jannetty's name still sticks around. Like, I feel like maybe people believe that Marty Jannetty can still reach that potential. I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, obviously not. He's got a bad foot, and he's an older guy. Shawn Michaels is long retired now. So okay. Like I said, and then he also had an interview with a local radio station in Georgia, where he kind of doubled down on everything, and he went more in depth and said that no, I'm not saying that I killed him. Right. What I'm saying is that he grabbed Marty and pulled Marty's pants down, and then Marty hit him with a brick until he stopped attacking him. Yeah. And then the interviewer said, okay, well, you're not saying that you killed him, but you did, you got away from him, you hit him with a brick. And then Marty said, well, I mean, I never saw the guy again. So it's sounds like you killed a guy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's saying he made the guy disappear, but he's not saying how he made the guy disappear other than hitting him with a brick. But didn't say I killed him. He just said nobody ever saw him again. Well, is that your way of running him out of town? Or is that your way of saying that you went after a guy physically? I don't know. And that's, I think, was the confusing part of it all. But I also think he's enjoying the attention too. Don't you, Aaron? It's I get to talk about this. I get to be interviewed about it again. And has anyone reached out to that young lady that he is not named, but posted a picture of there with him? This is just a breakup, dog. I get that I get people get heartbroken over breakups, but to just casually admit you killed somebody during a breakup is very strange. Oh, Zeno Hour says there's a police investigation according to TMZ. What a waste of time. What a colossal waste of time.
Well, there were a bunch of web sleuths I was reading on Twitter. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but the true crime web sleuth community, if you've watched that documentary, Don't Mess with Cats, there's a lot of web sleuths out there. Mm-hmm. And from what I saw, that people that were investigating this did not find anybody around that age that was missing from 1973 in that area. So, I mean, of course, there could be a police investigation that turns up something completely different. Could be from a different town. Who knows? But I'm hoping that this isn't true for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't want somebody to be murdered. That's awful. Right. And then number two, I don't want Marty to have, I didn't want him to go through any kind of, sexual assault or anything like that. That's awful.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just, which side do you believe? Which side's worse? I don't know. Right. It's just this guy that like a couple years ago, he made the post about if he should have sex with some girl that may have been his biological daughter.
Oh, so, that's right. Yeah.
So the Marty Facebook posts just keep getting weirder and weirder. And then also on that radio station, when he had that interview, he was like, I don't understand all the attention. You casually admitted to murdering somebody. So
right.
I don't understand how this happened. This isn't like a wrestling storyline. This is so weird and bizarre, but it was definitely headline news for about the last 2 days, and people just can't stop talking about it.
Yeah, it's a very strange situation, and you see all of this happening with him. And once again, I have to come back to this thing. Like, the name must still carry weight, Aaron. The name must still carry weight. If people are like focused on it a couple of years ago and focused it on, there are plenty of wrestlers that you could, like, if Crush came out and said something, it wouldn't get anywhere near the coverage of Marty Jannetty. You know, if any of these, I mean, there's like a million wrestlers I could list or mention who would casually admit that they made somebody disappear, and it would never tear up the wrestling internet, or tear up the wrestling podcast, or tear up the wrestling news sites as strongly as this has. And that tells you there's just that enduring legacy, because no one wants to be a Marty Jannetty. No one wants to be the guy who gets kicked through the window, or or as Bobby Heenan said, tries to jump through the window to escape the situation.
Hey, try to escape. What are you talking about?
Yes, guys, I know Crush is not alive. I just came to my head. I was just thinking about other wrestlers that didn't have that much notoriety, or that people wouldn't care that much about if they were alive and made a comment about it like this. So yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to leave a little anecdote here. I used to be a doorman at a gentleman's club.
I buy that.
And we used to have clientele that were bikers. And, when people come into the club, you do the little wand thing on, make sure they don't have a knife or a gun or something. And when the bikers come in, you don't wand those guys. You just let them in. You just let them in. Because there was like a deal that if like anything got crazy in there, they would take care of it. Like, I didn't have to do anything. Okay. Like, they would take care of it. And there was always like this rumor that, a couple people ended up in the Guyandotte River, which was right alongside the club. So I'm just saying, like, strange things happen. Strange things happen in the nightclub, guys. I'm not saying I'm not admitting to shit. I'm just saying I heard things. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Zeno Hour says HBK is going to be like, I don't know, Marty. I never met Marty. You're fake news.
No doubt about it. My buddy Jason said, like, have you ever seen that clip of Shawn Michaels trying to like use the computer in like 1996?
Yeah.
My buddy Jason was like, that's Shawn Michaels looking up Marty Jannetty articles. Like, it's so good. So good, man.
I like this one from Aaron Entertainment. Shawn really kicked him hard, didn't he?
He must have dislodged his brain.
He dislodged his brain.
Former Intercontinental champion. He should really be a Hall of Famer. Did you know that back in the day, Marty Jannetty did a rocker dropper on a guy and broke his neck and cost WWE like $800,000?
Wow!
Like, that's probably another part of the reason that he's not really thought of in the best of circles in the WWE as well.
You think Marty should be a Hall of Famer? Really? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
If he didn't, okay. Let me.
I do not.
Let me asterisk that with. Let me preface that with, if this weird stuff wouldn't be going on and he wouldn't have broke that dude's neck, yeah, absolutely. I think he's. I think
you're absolutely right, because remember they brought him back like years ago and reunited the Rockers or whatever, and poor Marty could barely get up on that second rope. So it's like I remember those. I remember that situation. That was pretty cool to see them. Pro Wrestling Shoe Reporter says, "Don't f with bikers."
Don't. They had the leader of the group was called Preacher. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. But
dude, don't get us killed. I don't know what you're talking about.
Sorry, but
fake news. I don't know Aaron Turner. I never met Aaron Turner. Fake news. Fake news.
Shout out to Preacher. I doubt he's watching, but things happen. Things happen at bars, man. Weird things happen at bars, especially when you're the doorman and everybody wants to be your friend. It's very weird.
Preacher, if you're in here, I apologize.
It was a short-lived job. I needed money.
I understand. Any kind of weird stuff? Any ladies? You get involved with any ladies there while you were working the club?
Hell no. I actually was dating my now wife at the time, and I mean, you want to talk about some trust? in a relationship.
Oh, but, right.
Yeah, so something happened with Mike Epps, the actor, but I mean, we'll talk about that another time.
Interesting.
He came through. We don't have to talk.
No surprise. How did Satin get that scoop about Turner?
Ryan Satin knows me like the back of his hand, I guess.
I wish we could get Ryan on the show, man. He won't do it.
He can. Oh, yes, he will.
He has contractual. No, I've asked him. He has contractual obligations to the outlet that owns him, and so
the outlet that
owns the sheet. Sorry, not him.
Ooh, that hurt.
I want to make sure that's clear. Oh, fuck them. Anyway, you got. Let's see how many we got. 40 y'all watching us live. Make sure you hit that like button as well. And we, look, we can joke about the Marty Jannetty situation, but of course, he's suffering from some sort of mental episode, and hopefully he gets the help he needs for the situation. I don't think anything he said is true. I really don't. I don't believe a word of it. And I just think it's someone who's got a weird altered version of reality and trying to navigate the world through it. Because why would you go on Facebook and post something like that if you're not somewhat unstable? So I think it's a sad situation overall. Let's see. I just want to give some love here to Hill Nellums. Hill Nellums donated. Hey, he donated here and he said, "Who cares about Pat McAfee? Like, really, who is clamoring for him to get an angle? Does WWE really think this has crossover appeal to casual non-wrestling fans? Wasting coal right now, in my opinion." All right, should we jump into this story next, Aaron, or should we?
Yeah, you want to just talk about it, Hill? Let's talk about it right now.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so Pat McAfee and Adam Cole. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. The whole situation of Adam Cole goes on Pat McAfee's show. He drops some F-bombs. They get into it, and let's just say it was a work. I think we all know it was a work at this point. Then Triple H. Yeah, and then Triple H goes on the show, and that's when you definitely know it's a work, and invites Pat McAfee on NXT to patch it up with Adam Cole. Yeah. And then Adam Cole and Pat McAfee both post on Twitter that, hey, we worked everything out, we're bros, which should further prove that it's a work. And then on NXT, Pat McAfee punts Adam Cole in the head, which should further tell you that this is a work. And it looks like we're going to get, I can't believe I'm going to say this, Adam Cole, baby, the longest reigning NXT champion, the former North American champion, former tag team champion, the first NXT person to hold two belts at the same time, versus Pat McAfee, NFL, former NFL punter for the Indianapolis Colts, former WVU Mountaineer as well. We'll just leave that at that. And NFL's all-decade team, accomplished guy, wonderful podcast host, and has quite the following.
Sure.
But did you notice something I didn't say there?
Where they're fighting?
No, he's not a wrestler. He's not a wrestler. And he's wrestling Adam Cole.
I know.
That's confusing.
Listen, I think the WWE is lost, my man. And look, I got no problem with this because you got to do something with Adam Cole, and they've been kissing McAfee's butt like crazy ever since he's walked into the doors of the WWE. His following has skyrocketed. And just like anything else in the media, if you're an actor, if you do movies or television or anything else, if you have a following, all of a sudden doors open for you. And now, because people want viewers for their stuff, because there's so much demand for people's attention on multiple platforms, various forms of entertainment, they want your eyes on it. So McAfee has blown up like crazy. And so they worked an angle out with him and Adam Cole just to give Adam Cole something to do. But this is dangerous. I don't hate it as much as most people are hating it. I see on social media and you as well. I understand why they're doing it as a business decision. I think it could be absolutely horrible because watching him try to do that punt on Adam Cole while he was on the desk during that NXT match was shameful. Yeah, the way he did it had no rhythm, no understanding of what he was doing. He literally started running up and then hesitated and then did the kick, and it looked fake as hell. The great ones know how to do it to make it look like it's real. He was literally trying to make sure he didn't hurt Adam, which is good, but still it looked terrible. What was more realistic? Triple H pushing him out of the way twice. The second push, it looked like he could have literally had McAfee trip on one of those guardrails and hit his head pretty hard. So that looked more realistic than that kick he did. So to me, at the end of the day, I know why they're doing it business-wise, but it's not exciting. And it doesn't help Adam Cole in any. And this is the danger they run into sometimes, Aaron, when they don't know what to do with a star they've built. They don't have a rivalry to put him in. They move him into something else, and it has the opportunity to sink him rather than to elevate him or keep him in people's minds.
Okay, so I'm taking in everything you said. He does have a following. I see people in the chat saying that he doesn't. What kind of following does he have? He has quite a large following. Yeah. But here's the deal, man. Like, I feel so bad for these wrestlers that work their asses off day in and day out. I know they've been building this Pat McAfee versus Adam Cole thing, so maybe they want to do it, and I'm just wrong. I totally could be. But I hate to see people left on the sidelines that work their tail off to get an NXT Takeover spot.
Yeah.
And, have to be pushed aside because, hey, we're going to do something with Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
And number two, you have Adam Cole as your NXT champion for so long, and then you don't have anything for him to do after that? Like, you're going to put him in a program with Pat McAfee?
Why have him lose the belt if you're not going to give him something else to do? It makes no sense, right? And especially if the next thing you give him is this. And to let our viewers and listeners know, McAfee has 1.8 million followers on Twitter and over 770,000 followers on Instagram. That's strong. That's a strong following. People will hand you shit when you have a following like that. So yeah, go. I'm sorry, Aaron. Go ahead.
He has almost as many followers as I do, but it's just give or take like 500,000 or 1.5 million. But it's stuff like that just drives me insane. Like, of course, it's not like it has the same crossover appeal as like Mike Tyson or Michael Jordan or somebody like LeBron James or Hugh Jackman who used to show up on Raw or
even Rodman, really.
Or even Rodman. It doesn't really have that appeal. And people say, oh, it's something new for NXT. Yeah, but is it something new for WWE? Because it's really not.
Yeah.
And I don't know who it helps. Does it help Pat McAfee get some eyes on him? Okay. Does he need the eyes? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Does it help Adam Cole? Not at all. It doesn't help Adam Cole at all, unless you're going to get his name out there further, which you don't really need to because he's the king of NXT.
Yeah.
So I'm very confused as to who this benefits, but I will watch with careful judgment. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, yeah. Gramash says, that's nothing, John, these days when those numbers became big for WWE. Oh, it's still, that 1.8 million is still good. Yeah, huge. It matters with the WWE because he didn't make his bones as a wrestler. See, the way the WWE looks at it is, and some people do, and I don't want to reveal too much, but some people do. If you made your bones within their federation, they don't consider your 1.5 million followers as strongly as if you made your bones in another pursuit, right? McAfee made his bones in the NFL and built up the stuff through the world of sports, then came over to the WWE and increased his following even more. But because he built his following outside of the WWE, they see the potential to appeal to both sides of the spectrum instead of just one, right? I was told recently you only built your audience up by being under this banner, so it's not as strong as if someone built their audience outside of this banner and then came in under this banner. So that's the kind of situation that you find yourself in. So it's better to branch out and build your stuff up under multiple tents so that people see you as someone who can step into any situation and get people's eyes on them. And so McAfee is doing that now by being with the WWE. So it's very interesting to me as well. Yeah, McAfee Show has almost 900,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's powerful stuff. That is cachet in this world of social media. So they're doing this. I agree with you. I think it's a dangerous situation here where people who work hard to get into these slots get pushed aside for a storyline. But then again, dude, this goes back to the core and the foundation of professional
business.
Yeah.
It's business.
And also, it's Carnival Barker business, man. It's like who's ever the most popular person around, let's get him in there and see what happens. We've had wrestlers fight bears, Aaron. So it's like this is always what it comes, no matter how much wrestling wants to elevate itself and be on ESPN and be on Fox and all this kind of stuff, at its foundation, it is still traveling circus, Carnival Barker tent type stuff. And these are the things that remind you that it's still in that stuff is still in its veins.
Damn, what a great point. What a great point. Wrestling is still carny, man. You're right. Wrestling's just plain carny. Like, I know this isn't on our topic list, but I was watching AEW Dynamite this past week, and there's a wrestler on there named Orange Cassidy. I don't know if you're familiar with Orange Cassidy, but I hate the gimmick. I hate the hands in the pockets. I hate all that shit. Hate it so much. But I was watching the thing that he did with Jericho this week. They had like a presidential kind of debate kind of thing going on. Eric Bischoff was there, and I hate Eric Bischoff too. But anyway, so I gave it a chance because I was like, well, if anybody can make this work, Jericho can make it work because he's one of the best ever.
Right.
And I'll be damned if this Orange Cassidy guy didn't completely turn me.
Yeah.
Like, I thought he was a joke. I hated the gimmick, and I still kind of hate the gimmick. But the way that he presented himself as an actual threat to Chris Jericho was great. And the way that Eric Bischoff played it, all the players in that were fantastic.
Right.
And it just goes to show that, I may think that I'm right, but I reserve the right to be wrong. Mm-hmm. And I reserve the right to be wrong in this scenario as well. I hope that Adam Cole and Pat McAfee have a banger of a match. I hope it's 5-star.
Yeah.
But if it's not, I also reserve the right to say, I told you so.
That's fair. Someone Salvador says Randy Orton has more followers. Again, Randy built his followings he built his following within the WWE. So the WWE does not see that as valuable as if you built your following outside the WWE and brought it to the WWE. That's the way it works. They find more value. That's why ESPN did their a crossover with the WWE now, and Fox as well, because it's bringing a whole new audience to their programming, and the WWE is getting more eyes on their programming. So it's a mutually beneficial situation. That's how this works. So be aware of that in life. Like, if you build your bones up, it's like your family, right? You could be the biggest star in the world, but your brother's still going to bust your balls in a way that someone outside your family would never even think to bust your balls in that way. That's how you have to look at it. It is in-house. When it's in-house, then all bets are off. When it's out of the house, then there's more respect. Your dad won't respect your accomplishments the way he'll respect someone else's accomplishments. Why? Because he's wiped your ass before and he knows who you are. So there's a difference. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying he won't still respect it. It just won't be the same. And that's what I'm getting at with WWE,
Damn, you're bringing the lumber, my friend. I'm
just saying, trying to.
You really are.
Get people to understand.
It's good stuff.
I love that. The handshake between Bischoff and Jericho, that was heated, said Gramash. Christian Ramos says, don't you disrespect pockets. LMFAO.
Yeah, whatever, Christian. Whatever, dude.
Let's
in
see
the pockets.
It's in the pockets. We got a one Streamlab that came through here. Thank you, Joseph Curran, for that. Hey guys, what were your thoughts on Bischoff on AEW? Would you guys be down to see him be their on-screen general manager, or do you hope this is just a one-off thing?
I hope it's a one-off, but I think that the role that he played as like the moderator of the debate was great. I think he played his cards just right. I think it was just enough of Eric Bischoff that I didn't hate it, and he went away and did his thing. I thought the role that he was brought in for was absolutely perfect. I don't think you need to ask more of him. That is enough. I don't need to see any more. And yes, that handshake with Jericho did seem a little bit heated. Yes, I agree.
I don't disagree. Jericho's doing it on both fronts. He's gonna fight in the Schmodown against Kevin Smith coming up later on this month. That's really happening. Crazy stuff in the world of sports entertainment and the Schmodown, for God's sakes. And what he's doing at AEW is great as well. We got 50 of you all watching us live, over 50. Thank you so much. Please hit that like button. Give us some love. Swing over there. Hit that thumbs up button. That's the like button for those you don't know. And keep sending in your Streamlabs and your Super Chats. Like I said at the beginning of the show, those are the things that keep us alive here on this show and keep us doing the show every week and keep the Outlaw Nation lights on. So we appreciate it when you can give and help. And it's Friday, so please, if you got something, give it up. All right, what do we got next, man?
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about Shane McMahon starting. Here comes the money himself, starting the Raw Underground, which is this sort of shoot fight kind of style, not shoot work style. I don't. It's a fucking mess, but it's. So they do the Raw Underground. They would have intercuts during the show where they would have like what would look like underground fights, like a fight club. With some wrestlers that were in developmental, some that were on the main roster, and they would do these fights for some reason, and it was It was okay. Like, to be honest with you, I'm of two minds about this as well. Okay. When I first heard the idea for Raw Underground, I was like, what is this? Like the Brawl for All again? The Brawl for All was a complete disaster.
Right.
But let's please not do that again.
Great point.
But the second part of me was like, well, something different.
Yeah.
They're trying something different. I don't know where it's going to lead. I don't know if it's going to help people get over, like Dabba-Kato. I don't know if it's going to help them. I hope so. Or Eric from the Viking Raiders. I don't know if it's going to help them. I don't know if we're going to have actual shoot fights at some point, because I would love to see that. Like, can we have Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley? That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Can we have Dolph Ziggler versus Chad Gable? That would be amazing. That gets me excited for it. It's something that I know Vince McMahon wanted to do, like the Brawl for All again in NXT at some point, but the way that this is presented, it feels different enough where I can get behind it, or I'll completely hate it in 2 weeks. I'm not sure, but I'm going to reserve judgment on this as well.
Yeah, I can be cantankerous. You know that, Aaron. I look at something when something new shows up, I'm always like, unless I like it, like immediately, like, oh, this is brilliant. To me, when I saw Raw Underground, I'm like, they're just trying everything. They're just trying anything that comes across as an idea. Having Shane do it is weird. I mean, Raw Underground with a guy who's wearing bright white basketball shoes that he's flipping the lips up over his jeans, it doesn't feel underground to me in any way, shape, or form. And then seeing this on, a black wrestling ring, essentially with no ropes, having these guys outside, kind of like a lumberjack situation. They're trying to evoke that vibe of obviously of underground fighting, but also the ECW stuff, the old school ECW stuff. I mean, the old school, like, battling out in those high school gyms. They're trying to give that vibe, right? That Raw that WWE can be cool too, can be edgy and rough and rugged too. And it's like, that doesn't feel cool. It's like your dad it's like that scene with Steve Buscemi coming in with the skateboard and it's going, "What's up, fellow kids?" Like, it's just, you're looking at that and you're like, nah, this is not, you're beyond this. You're beyond this. This is just to me, it feels like a desperate attempt to try to do something cool and edgy and rough and appeal to the younger generation. And the truth is that it just doesn't, for me, it didn't work at all. I tried watching, I was like, this is ridiculous, but kudos to them as a business. They're going to try to see what works, try to expand the brand a little bit, the scope of the brand a little bit. But in the end, having Shane come in feels a little weird. And then having a MVP and all those guys come in, Bobby Lashley and all them. I did like that part of the segment. But Ziggler fighting it I thought was just like, what? Why is Dolph doing this? So there were a lot of confusing feelings about it as I was watching it. I respect it as a business, what they're trying to do, but I thought it was terrible, man.
Well, Ziggler's an accomplished wrestler, so it kind of makes sense that would happen, like an amateur wrestler, says Chad Gable. But you're going to need a high profile talent to get in there. Yeah, Bobby Lashley and MVP and Shelton Benjamin are one thing.
Yeah,
you can get Brock Lesnar in on this. That's about something else entirely.
Right.
That could take it to the next level. Do I think Brock will do this? Absolutely not. No. He will probably be far away from this. But you could get somebody like maybe, I don't know, you get Braun Strowman in there to do it. The possibilities are pretty endless. You could bring back Eric Rowan to be in it. You could do all kinds of things if you wanted to do with it. I'm just happy that they're doing something else. Whether they're throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. If this sticks and falls off at some point, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
It's hard enough to watch 3 hours of Raw and keep my attention with them doing the same. Here's a 6-man tag. Here's a tag team match. Like, I don't care. But if you're going to kind of do these interstitials with something different, I guess you can keep my attention.
Yeah. The other part of this, and some people are bringing up in the chat already, that it has a lot of Lucha Underground vibes to it. Like
they wish.
They feeling, yeah, that's fair too. But the feeling of a dank gym and the crowd's right on top of the match, and there's a guy coming out barking out the fights, and of course with Lucha they had the ropes, and this they don't. But I get that point. It does feel that way was it Zeno Hourson, even from the lighting is giving you that vibe that it feels like they're biting ideas off of Lucha Underground. I don't know, maybe I just know that it didn't work for me because, like I said, they're beyond this. They're beyond this, and putting this up doesn't feel cool or interesting or young at all. And especially putting Shane, who's well into his 50s, in charge of this, it doesn't look cool at all. If they had a younger person involved in this, then you could almost turn it into a mini, what do you call it? Like a mini AAA of wrestling, almost another mini ECW right below ECW, right below NXT rather, and turn it into something where you're like people are getting to know these guys. I mean, where are the 205 Live guys? I wonder if the 205 Live guys would want to be a part of this. And just to get some TV time, just to get some exposure and have some fun, maybe take the shackles off a little bit and let them have a little fun doing these matches. That could be interesting too, and especially without ropes. What does your high flying stuff do without ropes? How can you adapt to that? So I think that could be interesting.
Yeah, that's the biggest difference between this and Lucha. Well, there's a lot of differences between this and Lucha Underground, but the thing that made Lucha Underground so special was their interstitials of the storylines that they were running, like the high quality, almost movie quality stuff they were doing in between, and the matches were excellent.
Yeah,
and they had a great character in Dario Cueto that would call out the matches, like you mentioned. And they've got, we got Shane McMahon, and we got no ropes, and we've got the back of the Performance Center. Like, you kind of think once COVID is over and people come back to the arena and stuff like that, Raw Underground will not be a thing. I think we can all understand that, because you're not going to sit there in an arena and watch a video screen while you paid a ticket to see Monday Night Raw. It's just not going to happen. So if we can all just get behind that this is going to be a short-term thing, we're all going to make it.
Okay. Oh, so you're okay with it as long as we all understand that it's not going to be something.
Yeah, I think we can all get behind that if we could just a couple months. I think we can handle it.
Okay. I like this. I think they'll have Nia Jax fight men on Raw Underground.
Oh Lord!
Boy, I hope not, man.
Well, no, they don't want people to actually get hurt. That's the
whole point. All right, Aaron. Anyway, we'll see what happens. And I forgot to answer the question for the Eric Bischoff thing. Honestly, I'll be honest with you. I don't ever want to see him in wrestling again. I think his time passed. He was a name for the time that he was there, but having him show up, and he did a good job, and so it's fine as a one-off. But I think he brings too much baggage whenever he shows up on screen, and the baggage isn't good. And no offense to Eric, you got a right to make a living, but seeing him on something like this doesn't make me want to see it anymore. Back in the old days, it did, but not now. And I think there are plenty of people who are outside of wrestling who could be interesting to bring in and do that and have it as a one-off. And I think AEW is coming perilously close to being like the MLS is in soccer, where they bring the great players from overseas who are in the last couple of years of their abilities to play the game and trumpet them up as huge. So when you bring out the old WWE people or WWF people, in my mind, or the old WCW people, I just feel like you don't need to do it. You don't need to do it. Build your own fucking voice without these people. Build your own voice without these people. So it's kind of, I don't know. This is my point of view about it.
I feel different in the AEW sense a little bit, because they're using people that weren't being used in WWE. It'd be different if they took Hulk Hogan, or they took, somebody's being used a lot. Like, say they took Seth Rollins and just made him Seth Rollins again. It's completely different. They took, Dean Ambrose, made him John Moxley again. Yeah. They weren't using Dean Ambrose the right way in WWE. They weren't using him a lot. They were he was getting beat by EC3, no offense, but EC3 was nobody, and he was getting beat by him on the weekly. Right. And then, they're using Matt Cardona, the former Zack Ryder, that he wasn't being used in WWF, or WWE. I mean, if they can take these people and use them the right way, I think it's completely different than what WCW did.
Yeah, and maybe I should clarify. I don't mean those people, Aaron. I mean the fossils, like Bischoff and, maybe not Jericho, because Jericho can still do it. But there are like Arn or Tully and all that stuff. Get rid of it, in my opinion. Get rid of it. Stop harking back to this old time, man. Build your own young, new, vibrant voice. If you keep attaching it back to I get why they're doing it, to show like, we have history, we have tradition. I get that. But I prefer doing your own thing. No dinosaurs in here anymore. We're building our own thing. We're all in this together, and let's create something incredible, And so that's my issue. Because someone pointed out it'll start to feel like TNA when they used to bring in Hogan and all those guys. If they start to bring in the older guys to come in, then it won't feel as unique as I was hoping AEW was going to be when it was blowing up when it first started out with Cody and all them. I mean, that pay-per-view, remember that pay-per-view? Only DDP, I think, was the only older wrestler that you remember from other federations showing up. So
yeah,
I don't know.
It's a hard balance because you have to build up your own talent, but you also have to make people watch. And if they're, well, Eric Bischoff is back on TNT for the first time in 20 years. What is going on over there?
Yeah, I guess.
So it's a delicate balance they're doing. And I saw in the chat, Christian Ramos brought up that AEW needs to focus on getting their women's division together. 100%, dude. Like their women's division is not, I won't say terrible because it's not. It's underutilized. Well, a lot of underutilized talent there. They took, so they're having this, I don't know if you know this, but they're having this women's tag team tournament. They're calling it the Deadly Draw.
Medusa came out for that. Yeah.
Yes, Medusa. Yes, exactly. And they're having it on YouTube. It's not even on the main show. So it's like, what? Like, why? Why is that happening? Yeah. And where there was one women's match on Dynamite this week, and it was a minute long. And I don't think there's any women's matches scheduled for this week's Dynamite. I know there is for AEW Dark, but it's a real problem. I know they've got some travel issues with Riho and some other people that they can't get them in, but and Britt Baker's injured. But come on, man! Like they didn't capitalize on Penelope Ford when she had her match with the women's champion. They didn't build her up anymore. She lost this past week, and it's just like they don't know what they're doing. And now Brandy Rhodes got in a lot of hot water. For they made this organization called AEW Heels, where it was going to cater to the female wrestling fan, which is it's great, sure, whatever. But you had to pay a $50 membership fee. So what are we really doing here? And then she got barbecued for that. I think she deleted her Twitter, as a matter of fact. So I mean, it's just you got to get that together. Yes, I saw in the chat Rachel Ellering going to be on AEW Dark, so there's another pickup for him from NXT. Yeah. I'm excited about that. I think it has potential, but you got to work on that. That's such a big part of wrestling these days is women's wrestling.
Absolutely,
you can't come to the table with it lackluster.
Right, and it's surprising to see Cody do that. It's surprising to see the people in charge of AEW do that. Huh?
Surprises me as well. Yeah, that Cody is not on top.
Absolutely, because he's talked about how important that is to wrestling and being married to Brandy. It's pretty shocking. So, all right, one more news item before we jump into our revisit of our classic match this week. What do we got?
Why don't you take this one? Because I know you're more excited about it than I am.
What? Woo! What can I tell you, man? The Rock. Let me bring that picture. I got to bring the picture up. The Rock has officially, as of this morning, he is the owner of the XFL with his ex-wife, Danny Garcia. Fantastic manager. Certainly, people need to be mentioning her in the same breath as Dwayne Johnson for that $7 production. They work together in tandem to do these purchases and make these moves for his career. And look, this is the greatest divorce I've ever seen in the history of my life. Most people, they divorce and they don't want to see their significant other ever again. But Danny and The Rock and Dwayne, they've kind of figured out, hey, this doesn't work for us, but we can work in a business capacity, and they do it. And they're super successful. They're incredible people. I hope one day to get a job with them. They're so good at what they do. Get me a little cash in the bank and help this gentleman spread the positivity that he spreads. I believe in Dwayne Johnson, and I love The Rock so much. So I'm excited that they're buying the XFL. $15 million. That's it. And they're doing it in conjunction with Redbird Capital, which is this massive conglomerate of investors. They have $4 billion in capital that they can use. They just recently bought a French soccer team at the top tier of Liga 1. For those of you new, Toulouse. Toulouse is the name of the soccer team. They spent $125 million to buy that soccer team. So this is an interesting situation, Aaron, too, because look, Vince was trying to sell this thing off. He's being sued by Oliver Luck, Andrew Luck's dad, for $28.5 million or $23.8 million rather. So they're taking that debt on. They're taking that lawsuit on. But Vince was trying to possibly bid on this. I think The Rock stepping in, buying it for so cheap, lets you know how many bidders there actually were, but also lets you know that he's going to let Vince hang around as kind of an advisor. And it was his way of saving Vince's butt a little bit. So I find this to be very, very interesting. And I also think this is a brilliant move by The Rock at this time. Look, we've seen the Black Lives Matter situation really explode. We've seen how many NFL players were pissed off at Goodell not saying Colin Kaepernick's name when he issued that quote unquote mea culpa about how tone deaf they were about the Black Lives Matter situation a few years ago and all of that. And so these players and they're looking at the CTE situation. They're looking at these lawsuits. They're looking at all this kind of stuff. And maybe, just maybe, there are some stars who don't want to be part of the NFL anymore. And if the XFL starts to become a viable option for them with not necessarily the deepest pockets, but pockets deep enough to lure just a few stars over, then all of a sudden the game changes. The NFL is not so precious that it can't be overrun by advertisers that all of a sudden see it as a sinking ship and jump over to the XFL. Do I think that'll happen overnight? Hell no. People got to see a track record here. But look at the MLS. The MLS started with like 8 teams, 10 teams, 12 teams. It is still going strong 20-some years later and keeps adding teams because their business model works for them. They make money doing what they're doing. The XFL is possible as well if The Rock gets the right people, Dwayne Johnson gets the right people in the right positions of power with Danny Garcia as well, guiding the ship. I think there's real possibility. 66 people opted out of the season for COVID this season. 66 people. That's incredible who don't want to play the NFL. Would never have happened 5 years ago. But because the NFL is a little shaky, these players are going to take the $150,000 or the $350,000 to not play. And I think The Rock sees a possibility. If he plays this correctly, as a black man, as a black owner of a league, he can lure black players, white players, any ethnicity players over to the XFL if he plays his cards right, and even recruit them out of the college football situation over to the XFL. And the XFL was doing well, Aaron. It was making money the second time around. The ratings, they're almost averaging 2 million viewers per game, which is pretty good. And Fox was using their B-level announcer teams, but still good still announcer teams of name to call their games. So there was momentum here building with the XFL. So if The Rock can figure out how to put this thing in motion, I think the NFL should be very worried. Not right now, but certainly 5 to 10 years down the road. If they can turn a profit consistently, the NFL might start to get really, really worried about their position in American society.
I don't agree with that at all, but I don't think the XFL.
Sorry, I went on so long, man. I apologize.
Cool. Yeah. I don't think the XFL could even make any kind of blip like that. Like, I mean, you're talking 5-10 years down the road. I'm talking 20 years down the road.
Okay,
maybe they might make a little bit of something, but that's if it goes that long. I mean, The Rock is a smart businessman. Danny Garcia, a smart business person.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't just get into something. And something else I want to say, like, people said that The Rock, like, oh my God, $15 million for the XFL, you overpaid. Yeah, the WWE or Vince McMahon or whoever lost 4 times as much in the league. They lost about 70 mil. So The Rock getting it for 15 is like getting it for pennies on the dollar. Yeah. So and I'm sure The Rock can write off 15 million like nobody's business. So it's not really, I don't think it's that big of I think it's a small risk with big return. Mm-hmm. And if you've watched Ballers on HBO, this is like Ballers in real life. Like, spoiler for the latest season, the Rock's character becomes the owner of the Kansas City Chiefs. On the show. So it's like, hey, wait, this is like art imitating life. It's kind of cool. Yeah. But isn't Danny Garcia like the first female to have like a majority stake in a company or in a sports company, sports league? That's amazing. Like how is that getting underscored? That's incredible. Like, good for her, man.
Absolutely. Much love to her. Somebody's going after me. I guess I'll have to explain nuance to Howard Cushland. 5 years ago, we didn't have COVID. Yes, Howard, I know that. But if we had 5 years ago, we had COVID, Howard, we would not have 66 people removing themselves from playing in the NFL. They would be willing to take the hits because of the pressure and the stigma of being called a quitter by their teammates if they were to leave. Nowadays, that has changed over the last few years. This perception of the NFL has taken a lot of hits PR-wise, a lot of hits with how they handled players' physical safety, the lawsuits from older veterans coming after the NFL for the money. All of that has damaged the image of the NFL. Roger Goodell has made a lot of mistakes as well with the NFL and their perception, the way they treat these players who abuse women, the way they treat these players who are like doing physical violence against people. All of that stuff, that's all there. Plus the debacle that happened with Kaepernick a couple of years ago or a year ago when they were trying to set up that workout. All of that, black players are watching. Trust me on this. Black players are watching that, and they're looking at it, and they're not feeling good about the situation. So if The Rock presents a situation, and I love how you guys doubt The Rock. I love how you guys doubt The Rock. It cracks me the fuck up. That man does not fail. That man does not fail. He succeeds in almost everything he puts his mind to because he's smart and he understands how to play it correctly to the right people. And I'm sorry, Howard, that you're not smart enough to grasp this, but that's actually what's out there in the world. If you did a little bit of research and listen to what's going on, the coded words in these interviews with these players in the NFL and players coming into the NFL, they are not happy with the situation. If you present a viable alternative to them, I guarantee you they'll think about it. It isn't all about money. If The Rock offers them like great health care to come in and play for the XFL, to cover them and their family in a positive way in exchange for a little bit lesser salary, then players might jump, coaches might jump, staff might jump. And you don't have to do 32 teams. 8 teams is more than enough to build a reputation. So, if you don't want to believe in it, feel free. But I never doubt The Rock when he puts his mind to something because he's always succeeded.
There's a reason they call him Franchise Viagra. He saved the Fast and the Furious series. He's come to save football. He's The Rock, man. He's just, just the guy doesn't fail. He's a people's champion.
Yeah, his wine is successful. Yeah, dang MQ, exactly.
Doesn't he have tequila as well? Like
tequila, yes, absolutely, that too. That's what I'm getting at. He doesn't fail. It's like what's his face? He's like Harry Stamper from Armageddon. Ben Affleck said, "I know he'll do it. Harry doesn't know how to fail. The Rock doesn't know how to fail, people." And 10 years from now, Howard, when you wake up in a cold sweat and you look at the news and you see that the XFL has got all these stars on their teams, you remember this voice. You remember what I said 10 years from now. And then you better find me and you better shine my goddamn shoes. All right, let's move on. What's the next situation?
Sorry, Howard.
He said he wants Colin Kaepernick to play a year ago. If he brought Colin in, that's Nike. And The Rock brings in Under Armour. People, wake up. All right. Enough said.
Well, we're on to the match now. It might be you versus Howard. I don't know, but we'll see.
I don't even know who Howard is, man. All right, let's what's our
God bless you, Howard. So we're talking about our match of the week, which is part of our SummerSlam Strong Style slate. It's the first match. You guys have wanted this one for a long time. Owen Hart versus his brother Bret Hart in a steel cage match for the WWF Championship. I don't know if I said it was from SummerSlam 94, but it's from SummerSlam 1994.
Yeah.
So let's get into the lead here. The rivalry started back at the Royal Rumble 94 when Owen and Bret attempted to take the tag team titles from the Quebecers. Bret was being worked on during the match and tried to gut it out instead of tagging Owen, which caused a loss for the team. After the match, Owen kicked out Bret's leg, sparking the tension.
Yeah.
Bret would go on later in the night to enter the Royal Rumble match and win alongside with Lex Luger, earning his title shot at WrestleMania 10. Owen would go on to challenge his brother for a match at WrestleMania 10 and beat him in, of course, a classic, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. Bret would go on at the end of the night to defeat Yokozuna and become the WWF champion once again. In June of 94, Owen Hart would defeat Razor Ramon to win the King of the Ring with a little help from Jim the Anvil Neidhart becoming the King of Hearts. And then, of course, winning the King of the Ring at that time gave Owen a shot at his brother Bret at SummerSlam. So here we are in the cage, family versus family. And we've got Jim the Anvil Neidhart on Owen Hart's side. We got Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog, on the other. You can see him there in his amazing vest. What an amazing vest that was.
He looked fantastic.
He looked jacked.
Yeah,
he was really jacked. But yeah, I've watched this match several times. It starts right away. Right as soon as Bret gets in there, it starts right away. And I'll go ahead and say this, man. I've seen my fair share of matches. I've seen my fair share of cage matches. I've seen my fair share of Bret Hart matches.
Yeah.
This is probably the best use of a steel cage I've ever seen in a match.
Yeah, I like it. It's constantly you're wondering who's going to jump out. It's almost like they took those near falls that you get in regular matches and applied it to the cage, because there are so many near escapes in the cage throughout the whole match. And this is one of those matches, Aaron, I will say, I don't think I've ever seen two wrestlers try to leave the cage with the frequency that they do in this match. It really is like 2 or 3 moves, and then all of a sudden right to the cage trying to climb over. 2 or 3 moves right to the cage trying to jump through the front door. There's all of that happening, yet there's still high-flying moves from the top, high-flying moves from off the cage, really powerful moves from both of those gentlemen to try to get it, try to get the advantage to get out of that cage. And of course, like you said, it's almost hitting the same beats when we were talking about the other Bret Hart versus Owen Hart match, where they interview Stu Hart as well and interview his wife, the mom there. But this time they interview the fan. And I don't know who Bruce Hart is, but I think he thought it was way more important than he actually was in this situation. Wow. It's really Jim Neidhart and it's really British Bulldog. Nobody knows who Bruce Hart is, And so this situation, having everybody in this conversation, I thought was a great way to build it up as well. And having Neidhart sitting way at the back, doing his thing, I thought added a nice element of suspense and family issues, family drama in this one. And then you get into the match, and the match is damn good, man. There's some really some really cool moves, some good spots, some good moments between both of these guys to build up the tension of who might win. And to be honest with you, I didn't remember the result of this one. So I was actually watching it going, okay, let's see. I don't remember. Does Owen win this one or does Bret win this one? And the way it goes down, I thought was a damn good a victory in terms of storyline.
Well, something that the blue cage allows, which I love that cage, man. This isn't the last time that they used it, but it's one of the last times that they used it. Is the ability to just use like those footholds for different things. Like the cage they have now is chain link or some version of that. So it's kind of hard to climb and get your foothold. And this thing, like you could easily climb that thing like very quickly and do moves off of it. One thing you'll notice in the match is at one point Bret Hart gets crotched on the rope and he's kind of far away, and Owen on the top rope just kind of says, you can kind of see him mouthing something to himself. I think he just said like, oh crap, I gotta go for it. He does that top rope drop kick, which was really beautiful, and it's just you could tell the improvisation there from Owen, and the things they would do on the top of the cage had to be all improvised, right? Because Bret grabbing onto his hair while Owen's legs are wiggling at the bottom. Like, it's so fun, man. And I don't know if it was this match because I didn't see the promo beforehand, or I don't know if it was a WrestleMania match, but there's a promo where Bret, and it's so good. It's like a stupid line, but it's the way that he delivers it is good. He says, Owen, I'm going to beat your brother, and I just hope at the end of the day you can live with it. And I just love that so much because that's just like classic Bret Hart. Like mom and dad are watching, like our whole family's watching, his sisters are there. Like, it's just so good. And then they're ramming each other into the cage. There's no blood. There's no nothing like that, like we talked about last week with Tully and Dusty. There's none of that going on. And then you can tell that when Owen is hanging on the top of the cage and Bret goes for that superplex towards the end of the match, they just go for it. Like, I don't think that was necessarily a planned spot, but he went for it. And it looked so good. Vince McMahon, oh, what a maneuver. Like what a great call that was. Like, just the way that they do it and the way that Bret gets the sharpshooter put on him by Owen and then reversed. Oh man, it's classic, dude. It's just classic good stuff here.
Yeah, and once again, you're left with that feeling of like what could have been with Owen, right? Because Owen and Bret had such great chemistry with each other, and you see the way they move through the different moments within the match, right? The escalating desire to win, the escalating desire to win. How much more do I have to do to incapacitate this guy? What is it that it's going to take out of me to beat this guy on both sides, right? And Bret had that promo before the match where he apparently was recovering from strep throat, which is a weird thing to give somebody, but he had a recovery from strep throat, and he was talking about it, and he said, no excuses. I'm going in there to show him who's the best and blah, 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 and they interview the family, and they're talking about which side they're on. And then you add that element to this. So there's so much weight as you're watching this match. And, these two guys are some of the best that have ever done it. And certainly at this time, both of them fully in their prime as wrestlers. So watching them go at it with each other, and they love it because they're both, they're both willing to take what the other one has and help the other one look good in the situation because they're both consummate professionals, not just brothers who care about each other, but also consummate professionals wanting to put on a good show. And that's consistent throughout the match until we get to that ending for sure.
Yeah, and I actually, here's a strong style surprise. So there's this thing called Cameo, and you can actually DM a celebrity on Cameo.
Wow.
For a certain price if you want. So I DM'd Bret the Hitman Hart, and I asked him about I asked him about this match, and I said, was there any plans to have Owen become the champion? Is that something you would have been in favor of? And he replied, no. Just replied with a no. So $2.99 down the drain. Thanks a lot, Bret. But
wait, $2.99 or $2.99?
No, okay. $2.99. Like, what are you, insane? But yeah, so just a simple no, that was not the plan. But he would have been in favor of it. It's a no, yes kind of situation. So, I mean, I guess there's been a lot of talk. There's been a lot of talk about would Owen have been a great champion, and I think like
breaking news.
Yeah, put it on Pro Wrestling Sheet. But
yeah,
there was a lot of talk about Owen being the world champion here, and I think that if they wanted to, this would have been the time to give him that world title run.
Yeah.
I know he had the later rivalry with Shawn Michaels when he was a babyface, but like a short run here with Owen, maybe to get him to Survivor Series where they have another blow off would have been great.
Yeah.
But Owen, a guy that didn't need a world championship, Intercontinental champion, European champion, tag team champion, everything else, King of the Ring.
Yeah.
I mean, he was an accomplished superstar in his own right before his passing. So,
right. Yes.
Just the way you got to go.
Yeah, and it's fun for us to go back and revisit these great matches and see the back and forth between these guys and then see what happens afterwards. We should talk about the afterwards as well, the ramifications of it, because Bret does climb over that cage, him and Owen going at it, punching each other with is it Lawler screaming for him to just jump off the cage? Just jump off the cage.
Yeah, just jump off the cage.
Yeah, and he doesn't, and then eventually, Bret hits him or he hits his head into the cage. And Owen gets hung up upside down with his legs in the cage. And Bret just jumps down and gets the victory, which sparks this massive family brawl as Neidhart jumps over in his Zubaz pants and runs at Bret and starts to beat up on Bret. Owen, they both throw him into the ring. They start kicking him start beating him up. And then all of a sudden, the Hart Foundation, like some kind of ninjas, start climbing on all these the Hart family, rather, on these multiple sides of the cage, along with British Bulldog. And initially, it looks like they're going to hold him off. And then eventually, they all climb over into the cage and save Bret from Owen and the Anvil. Neidhart, they run out to the back. I think Pettengill chases them down. And Neidhart says, Owen says, they're not my family anymore. They didn't cheer for me. They're not my blood, blah, 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 setting up a even more drastic heel turn from Owen. So I love the whole thing from beginning to end was a great spectacle, great show, and it was nice to revisit it again.
Well, something else that happens is Jim the Anvil Neidhart clotheslining Davey Boy over the railing with his wife.
Now, was she supposed to go over, Aaron?
I don't know, but she took quite a tumble.
She did.
Diana, how dare you? Taking quite a tumble there. I hope she's all right. That's Bret's sister, for goodness sakes. But
right, because I saw her head almost hit the steel at the bottom of the railing, and you're like, wait, did she hit it or did she not hit it?
That was kind of. I think she did. She was supposed to go over because of the way that I think Davey protected her on the way down. She probably fell on top of him for all I know. Right, but yeah, that was a cool moment. Like, it was kind of cool to see the Anvil beat up Bret. Like, that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
So I don't remember that happening, but that was a lot of fun.
It was cool. Let's see. We got a couple of super chats here. I want to get to them. Stupid Stars Music says Rocha Howard must not know about Malcolm Jenkins. Yeah, Howard came in, shot some shots, and then disappeared. I guess some people can handle the heat, some people can't.
Howard.
Chris Taylor said, "Is Bret Hart Mr. SummerSlam?" That's a great question.
100%. 100%. He's had the best matches in SummerSlam history, from Mr. Perfect to British Bulldog to this one to matches he had with The Undertaker, or was it Shawn Michaels? I don't think it was Shawn Michaels. I think that was Survivor Series.
Okay.
But yes, Bret Hart is definitely Mr. SummerSlam, 100% for sure.
All right. With Shawn being Mr. WrestleMania, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. Anything more to say about this one?
It's excellent. It's SummerSlam 94 on the WWE Network. You guys should definitely go watch it. It is worth your time for sure. This whole month could have been Bret Hart month, like we talked about him being Mr. SummerSlam. It really could have been the way that Bret Hart does his things. I know I'm a Bret Hart fan. I'm a Bret Hart mark, and I have to bring his matches in sometimes, but this is just one of those that I think everybody needs to see.
Absolutely. Respect. And what do we got coming up next week? What's our match of the week next week?
Well, hold on. We got some aftermath about what happened after, too. So hold on.
Ahead,
we got the aftermath. This rivalry would continue to Survivor Series 1994, the end of the year here, where Owen would trick his own mother, Helen, into throwing in the towel on Bret's behalf in a submission match against Bob Backlund, which would cost Bret the championship. Owen would go on to form a tag team with Yokozuna and capture the tag team titles, and of course go on to reform the Hart Foundation with Bret in 97. And then Bret would go back to recapture the WWF title at Survivor Series 95, defeating Big Daddy Cool Diesel. So it wasn't all gloom and doom. And Bob Backlund beat Bret Hart once upon a time. Can you believe that?
Yeah, that seems so strange to even hear you say that. Yeah, very, very strange. Cool. All right, and then next week, what do we got, my man?
We have got the one and only, the Beast, Brock Lesnar versus CM Punk from SummerSlam 2013. The first and only time these two hooked up. So this is going to be a good one to talk about. Very competitive match. Can't wait to talk about it.
I remember CM Punk, this guy right here. He used to be a great wrestler we could watch. Damn it. I miss him, man. I really do miss him. Lesnar, who was already older than Punk, he's still doing it, so it's a shame that Punk won't get back in the ring. He was such a great presence in the ring. But it'll be fun to revisit that one. I'll probably watch that one 2 or 3 times as under the guise of being prepared to talk about this match, because I love watching these guys tussle. All right, well, thank you to everybody who joined us here today to watch us live here on the Outlaw Nation channel, but on Strong Style, this episode of Strong Style. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for everybody who sent in comments. Everybody, the chat's always lively when we get into this, and sometimes I come after you, which I think is always a lot of fun. And please take it from the playful place I always come from, for sure. And thank you to everybody who sent in Streamlabs and SuperChats. We were a little light today, but I get it. We'll figure it out as we go along in the next thing. So thank you so much. Aaron, any final words, and where can they find you, my man?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter at only Aaron Turner, where, if you want to hear some stories about how I was a doorman at a gentleman's club, we can talk about that. If you want to, help me get a cameo from Bret Hart where he actually answers a question, you can donate to Streamlabs and Super Chats, and I'll see you next week. I'm going to go watch SmackDown.
Respect. Thanks for the $3. No, I love it. Follow me at The Rogue Says on Twitter and on Instagram, and please subscribe to the channel below if you haven't subscribed yet. I think we just picked up somebody we picked up Christopher Harper during the running of this show. So thank you so much, Christopher, for coming aboard. Please, more of you subscribe to the channel, give it some love. And also, if you're watching this later, and a lot of you do, please make sure to give it a like, hit that thumbs up button, and leave a comment below. The more comments you leave, the more likes you leave, elevates this show in the algorithm of YouTube and gets it to be put on other people's feeds to have them take a chance and enjoy what we talk about here on Strong Style, the unique show we got here on Outlaw Nation channel, and I appreciate that we do it. All right, for Aaron Turner, I am John Rocha. We'll talk to you next week with another brand new episode of Strong Style. Yeah, let's do it. Get into it.
It's not going anywhere.
There we go.